Part of my wheat journey and sharing that with you is answering a lot of questions. So I have put almost all of the questions that I've recently been asked into this compilation. So enjoy. You may have the same question that somebody else did, which is why I answer anything I can for you guys. The journey is amazing, and I have never been healthier, and I have never felt better. Here you go. This is our journey. Welcome to the Betancourt's homestead. Absolutely great question. Let's answer it for you. We live about 70 to 80 minutes away from any really good stores that have a selection. We live about 85 minutes away from the local closest Costco to us. And so we tend to stock up on things so we don't have to go in as much, because gas and mileage costs money. So we save a lot of money by combining our trips and only going in about every other month. However, I've been going in a heck of a lot more recently when I had a loved one that was in a care facility for a while, and I went in every week. And I used that opportunity to do other things that I would normally not do, like my dental work that I was like, oh, let's get that done. However, train, back on the tracks. I hate shopping. I know that's probably a shock for some men. I absolutely hate shopping. I would rather go and get it all at once and then come home and package it and keep it on the shelf. I also hate running out of things. So I like having a stockpile of things that when I pull one off the shelf, I have a backup behind it. I also love saving money when I go buy something, because if I buy it in bulk, I get a better price for it. So 1, cost efficient. 2, hate shopping. 3, time saving, because I'm only doing it once. And 4, I love saving money. All benefits. Great question though, really a great question. That's a really good question, and it has a lot to do with my brain and Tetris. Stick with, because I can shove an awful lot of grains or flour and tamp it down over and over again until I literally fill the entire bag all the way up to the tip top. Simply put, I can fit more pounds of grain in a 5-gallon Mylar bag stuffed into a 5-gallon bucket than I can using 1-gallon or 2-gallon bags and trying to fit them in perfectly. Now, that doesn't mean I don't use those other bags. I do. I just like this method for my grains, my wheat berries, my rice, and flour products. But they're not one-time use for me. So when I finish wheat berries, I just cut the top off of where I seal. I reuse it with wheat berries. I put wheat berries in there. I stick another O2, a brand new O2 absorber in there, and I reseal the thing. And then I just keep cutting it down until I get small Mylar bags, a smaller bag, and then, you can cut and seal them to fit your style. That is my preference. Now you know what I know. This is an excellent question, and there's no really set answer. It depends on the growing season and the growing conditions of the wheat. It also depends on the type of wheat. So like soft white wheat usually gives me, per cup of berries, gives me 1 1/3 cups of actual flour. The hard red wheat gives me a little bit less. For me, I measure slightly less than what I need, and I only grind what I need at the time. Because when you start grinding the flour, it actually, at the point of grinding, starts to lose the nutrients that you want in your baked goods. It doesn't leave it after you've baked it, but if you just grind it, let it sit on the counter, it's going to slowly lose its nutritional value within a couple days. So there you go. I grind as much as I need at the time, and any extras I keep in a Ziploc bag in the freezer, which I add to the fresh ground flour as I need it. There are a lot of bakers that, instead of measuring in the cup system, they take their grains and they measure hard red wheat to see how much hard red wheat they need per grams equals a cup. So if a cup of flour is like 70 grams, then all they need is 140 grams for 2 cups of flour. And then they know hard red wheat weighs so much per cup, so they just need to measure out those berries, because weight of the berries is equal to the weight of the cups. Those are same. Does that make sense? Like when you work by weight, It's so much easier when you're baking with whole grains. There you go. Now you know what I know, which really isn't that much. Yes, I love my machine. It does do rice and beans. The newer model actually has a little insert that goes in it, and this thing right here will change. Mine does not. Mine is the older unit. However, this does flour and coarse flour. It doesn't do the cracking. Like, I can't make malto meal with it. Like, I can't make cracked wheat cereal. For that reason, we're looking at buying a Country Living grain mill. We wanted something that, yes, we want to do flour products, but we also want to do cracked wheat and coarse cornmeal, things like that. And the Country Living grain mill will do all of that. It will even crack the wheat or the corn that we want to feed the chickens. So that one, the one that we get, will be a hand crank one. We can attach a motor to it. And that's going to be a backup. This one is going to be my everyday. It will always be my everyday. It is so easy and quick, and it doesn't do a lot. It doesn't bring in a lot of dust in the house. It's just an all-around easy starter unit, if you get my drift. But the backup unit, we usually always have two of something. The backup unit is going to be that Country Living grain mill. We're in the process of saving for it. So I'm really excited. Yeah, that's my 2 cents. Now you know what I know. Lady Cajun Peaches, hold on to your seat, because I am going to blow your mind with what I have learned. And it's only been a year, and let's see if we can do this all in one take without pushing. Oh, I guess not. Hold. And we're back. It's been a year that we have been grinding our own wheat, and we will not go back. In fact, we will not go back. That I've literally been using the bread flour that I have to give products away, to literally make products and give it to people that don't have the sensitivity. So here is what started the whole issue for me. I started having sensitivity and started thinking that I was gluten intolerant, which was really kind of sad, because I actually love gluten, flour, cakes, cookies, everything. It's horrible for me. However, I was having really interesting effects. Like, I would eat something, and an hour later or 2 hours later, randomly, I would bloat up like I was some kind of Pillsbury Doughboy. Don't poke me because I might explode, right? Like a balloon. It was really painful, very, very painful. And then I started noticing, like, I'm not going to the restroom like once every 5 days if I'm lucky. Bloated like crazy, constipated, everything like that. And allergies, really bad allergies, and brain fog. I know I've done videos on this before, but let's just get it out there. So I started looking at my symptoms, and I started asking myself, like, what is it? And then I watched a video, and I was like, oh, what if it's not the wheat? What if it's the way they process our bread flour? And then I started grinding my own wheat. I had a little wheat grinder, so I started grinding the wheat, and I started replacing all of it. Somebody had given me the Wonder Mill because they weren't using it, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it, right? I'm gonna go for it. And head first, we started grinding our own flour products, making all of our own stuff. I have been slowly transforming. I make my own bread. I make my own flour tortillas. I make Greek flatbread. I make our biscuits, everything from scratch now, from home, fresh ground wheat. You want to know what's interesting? I don't have the brain fog. I'm actually have more energy. I haven't bloated in almost a year. I've actually only had one bloating experience. I've never felt better than I feel right now. We literally love all of the products that we're eating, and the benefit, I am so regular. Like, you could set a clock to me almost, like literally. Now, I don't eat all of my wheat berries fresh ground. I do take the wheat berries and make salads out of them. If you cook them in an Instant Pot, oh my gosh, they are absolutely amazing. You rinse them really well after they've cooked, and then you can add all kinds of fresh veggies to them, and as vinegar and olive oil salad dressing, and it's just amazing. And you can get your wheat that way too. And you know what? I'm going to stand by it. It's not the wheat. It's the chemical process that they do to make the flour shelf stable and consistent. That is what's getting us. It's also the synthetic vitamins that they're putting in the flour, because they remove all of the beneficial vitamins, the complete set of B vitamins and the folic acid, out, and they add in the fake stuff.
And the folic acid, the synthetic folic acid, is what a lot of people have a reaction to because their body can't handle it or they're allergic to it. Oh, and my allergies are gone. Like literally, my allergies. I used to not be able to breathe at all. I haven't had to take allergy meds in a year. There you go. It's well worth a try, but I guarantee you, once you start, you won't go back. I'd be very surprised. And some people tell me, oh, I'm gluten intolerant. I have celiac disease. There are truly people that do have celiac disease. But in order to be a true celiac, you have to be tested genetically for that gene And people that think they're celiac have actually tried the bread, making their own fresh ground wheat. I have a girlfriend that thought she was celiac, and I made her a loaf of bread. She tried it. She came back to me. She says, I did not react at all to that. That is just amazing. It's the bread flour, the commercial flour, not the actual wheat berries. So people that think they have celiac, they need to go get genetically tested to see. They may just be allergic to the process in the synthetic folic acid. There you go. It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. I literally could talk about this all day, like literally. But now you know what I know.
That's a really good question. There are multiple places to get wheat berries. Here are a few of mine that I use every year. I go into a place called Winco. It's a grocery store that we have. They're all over the nation. You would just have to see if there's one in your area. And at Winco, you can go into the bulk bin section, and sometimes they have the 25-pound bags there. Sometimes you have to go to your produce department man and order them. And then you just tell them how many you want, and he orders them, and then in 2 days later, he'll call you and you go pick them up. I do that once a year because I live 90 minutes away from them. It is actually really good wheat, although it is not organic, but it is close to organic as you can get without having the organic price tag. It's really good wheat. Now that's hard red and hard white. They don't do soft wheat. Hard wheats are what you use when you are doing yeast products, and soft wheat is what you use for cakes and biscuits and stuff like that. Soft wheat I get from Azure Standard, or I buy it online on Amazon.com or straight from Palouse, which is Palouse, and that is out of Washington, and they'll mail it directly to your house. Durum wheat I get from Azure Standard, and those are just drop sites that you go wherever you can find those in your area. They're all over the nation. So that's where I get my wheat. Durum wheat is used for pasta making. It's semolina flour. Once you grind it, it's called semolina flour. Soft white wheat is used for non-yeast products. Hard wheats are used for yeast products. That's a soft rule. It's not a hard and fast rule, but there you go. And that's where I get it. Winco for hard, Azure Standard, and Palouse for soft, and durum wheat from Azure. Also, you can get Palouse wheat from Amazon. The short answer is yes, I did a lot of different things for the bread conversions. I took recipes that I loved, simple, basic ones, and I worked with them until I figured out what was working for me. Now, I'm in a very humid climate. I have shared my basic whole wheat bread recipe on this platform. You can search my account and you should be able to find it. I've shared it a couple times. It is the #1 recipe I use for hamburger buns, hot dog buns, rolls, bread, you name it. It is just an all-around basic recipe. Also, the #1 thing you're going to do when you're taking whole wheat and you're no longer using white flour or wheat flour, you're going to want Vital Wheat Gluten. Vital Wheat Gluten is going to be your friend. You actually want, for 3.5 cups of whole wheat flour, you're going to use about 1.5 tablespoons of wheat gluten. It's just upping the protein to get the action and the rise. This is what's going to help you get that bread rising beautifully. This is for yeast bread. This is hard red wheats. The deal is, the secret to the soft wheat flour, anytime you're using soft white wheat, you're going to want to mix it and then let it sit for 30 minutes. Don't touch it before you add any more flour to it, because you're working with it and it's a sticky, sloppy, gooey mess, and you're like, there's no way this thing is going to turn out.
But if you let it sit for 30 minutes and then you come back to it, you're gonna look at it and it's like magic happened all at once. Here's the last little tip and trick I can give you. When you have a flour product from the store, they've removed all the germ, and the germ is kind of hard, and it's like little tiny knives slicing in every time you're kneading the bread. So the trick before you knead the bread is you mix all the ingredients in and let it sit for a bit, and then you knead it after the germ and the bran has gotten softened. And then it won't be like little tiny knives cutting up your little gluten process, because it's the process of the gluten that's working in the flour that's going to create your rise. But if you're kneading the bread and the bran is really hard, it's like a little tiny knife cutting all of the strands of gluten. Counterproductive. So remember to let it sit for a minute and just soften up. The other thing that I have learned along the way is that every single batch of wheat reacts a little bit differently. So you can't just do hard and fast rules. You need to feel the dough and you need to understand it, because you grew up in one part of the country and you might have a best friend that grew up in another part of the country, and you kind of have a different language. Well, your wheat grew up in a field with specific weather conditions. Your next bag of wheat may have grown up in a field with a different weather conditions. So you might need more liquid or less liquid depending upon how much rain that field of wheat got. So each bag is going to be slightly different, and it's all going to be by feel. That's what I got for you. Anything else, if I remember it, I'll come back on and let you guys know. But have fun with the whole entire process. Once you start tasting the chewiness and the texture and the flavor, so add some hard red. Red wheat is going to have more of a robust, meaty flavor to it. The white wheat is going to be more bland. So mix them. Like I'll do a 2/3 of red wheat, hard red, with a 1/3 of hard white for my bread products. I love them. And I make all of my bread products, pretty much all of my bread, in a bread machine because it's faster and it's easier and it saves my hands. Oh, it's so good. And with that one bread recipe, I've shared it on here several times, with that one bread recipe, you can get not only your sandwich bread, but you can add nuts in it, and you can add all kinds of grains and stuff in it, and then you could take it out when it's dough and you could make it into cinnamon rolls. You could also make it into hamburger buns and hot dog buns and rolls and anything that you want, like literally anything that you want. Oh, it's just amazing. But there you go. I hope that helped. Okay, talking to you like a 5th grader is going to be really hard because I am on a 2nd grade level. But let's get it done. Why don't we? I keep 4 types of grain on my counter. I know a lot of people do the einkorn flour. They do spelt, all kinds of different things. I just do 4. I keep it as simple as I can. So I do hard red wheat, which is really hearty flavor, and hard white wheat. Those are for yeast making products. I do a soft white wheat, and those are usually your cakes and your pastries and biscuits and things like that, things that don't require yeast. And then I do durum flour, which when you grind it, it's semolina flour, and that's what I make for use for pasta. I also mix and match them all, like whatever my taste buds want for that day. I just mix and match it. That's what I love about grinding my own wheat, is if I'm in the mood for, or if I'm making something like a croissant, I'll just grind up all white wheat, right? Like I won't use the red at all. But if I'm making cookies and I want a little bit of a more chew to it, or a little bit of a more depth of flavor, I will use I'll add hard red into my soft white wheat. And to answer the last part of your question, I grind everything on a pastry setting in my Wonder Mill. I'm not sure if that's going to be the same setting for everybody else, but it's a really fine setting, and it gives me a really better rise. Like, it's not as bulky, and my flour seems to react better to the gluten and the rise. Yeah, so everything for me is on the pastry setting. I don't mess with any of the other things, but I keep it very, very simple. Because let's not forget, I am blonder than my husband pays for me to be. Next question. That is a really good comment. I do know I was having a a dairy intolerance whenever I ate dairy products. I was having a really hard time trying to figure out what I was allergic to, which is why I went to get a test, a food sensitivity test, which came back totally negative and fine. I was not sensitive to anything. But it brings me, it brings an interesting thought that if we all communicate together and we're all sharing in the comments, I love these comments, we're all sharing what our issues are or sensitivities are or what we've done to fix it, then we can all figure out what we need to do in our diets to make ourselves healthier. I know for me, my dairy intolerance, I wasn't intolerant to hard cheeses, but I was to soft cheeses, milks, and ice cream. Somebody always called. Carrying on. My intolerances went away, believe it or not, when I started the wheat. Like several months after that, I could eat it just fine. Drink it, eat it, whatever, just fine. No sensitivities to dairy at all. And I have heard that some people, when they're healing their gut and their gut starts working properly, which is what the wheat and the fiber and the vitamins and the minerals in the wheat, it's got like 40 different vitamins and minerals in it. I'm saying this because I have wheat berry salad on the counter because one of you asked for it. So I figured I'm in the mood, I'll make it. When I started eating the wheat several months later, I became not sensitive. My sensitivity to dairy stopped, which is interesting. But I do know that they add sugar to milk to make kids drink it. And anytime, I had a doctor tell me, anytime you see anything that says enriched, that means they're using synthetic vitamins and minerals. So he told me, you need to stay away from anything that says enriched and you need to go back to the real source. I would love to find somebody that wants to trade raw milk with me in my community. Like, I would love that. What can I give you? And we trade on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Bartering for me would just be amazing. Anyways, that's what I have learned. I do know that enriched is synthetic and it's not real. It's not the real stuff. And they add sugar to milk to make kids want to drink it. So yeah. I'm now on to packaging that wheat that I bought at Winco, and I showed you how I ordered it. It is Montana wheat, hard red and hard white. I'm getting ready to package the hard red, and I wanted to show you what wheat should look like. I always inspect my wheat. I have very clean hands. I've washed them and dried them thoroughly, but I always inspect it and look for any contaminants. I've always been very happy with all the wheat that I've gotten from these people. But what I'm looking for are bugs, weevils, dirt, chaff, anything like that. And I'm not seeing any of it. I literally have always just loved this wheat. I look at every single bag. Don't let one bag go unnoticed. I did that with the rice, and this is what I found with the rice. That little, in all of the bags that I was doing, I found that little tiny dot of, it's just the rice plant, like literally dried plant right there. So I just removed it, but that's what I found in it. So it's kind of tedious, but once you do it, you don't have to redo it every time you open something because you know you did it the first time you got it. And I know if there's an infestation immediately. That's why I do it, to make sure there's no bug infestation and to make sure that there's no plant issues or fungus or anything like that. Just being careful with my food source. Now you know what I know. Would you like to see what the hard white wheat looks like? Oh, just say yes because I'm going to show you. This is what the hard white wheat looks like. It's lighter in color. I don't see anything that would concern me at all. In fact, usually hard white wheat has a little bit more chaff in it. Not this one. Not this one. There you go. I'm going to get to packaging this one. So we are actually talking about two separate things with the same product. What you're talking about is the harvesting. There are some wheat growers that when they get ready to harvest the crop, they spray the crop with glyphosate, which is Roundup, as a desiccant to dry the wheat and stop it from growing so that they can harvest it and it not rot or sprout in the field. Okay, there's that process. I'm not talking about that. If you want to get rid of that process, you would go organic harvesting. You would buy organic wheat and you would call the company and make sure that it's not sprayed with glyphosate. That is a totally different process than what I'm talking about. So what I'm talking about is first,
When they grind the wheat, they sift it and they remove all of the chaff in the sperm, which has all of the fiber and all of the vitamins and nutrients. They pull that out and they sell it to people for chicken feed and cow feed and pig feed. They're giving all the vitamins and nutrients, the best part of the entire wheat berry, to the animal feed. And then they take the wheat, the white flour, which we all think is great because we're buying flour and we're making products ourselves, and they put it through a chemical process. This is what I'm talking about. It's not glyphosate. They're putting it through a chemical process to make it shelf stable so that it lasts longer than the few months on the shelf, because it's quite frankly going to take a lot longer to get to the store than the few months. And then after they've made it shelf stable, they take it and put it through another chemical process to make it consistent, because all wheat berries are different depending upon the weather that they grew in. So if one wheat berry grew in very dry climate, it's going to need more moisture when you're making bread. But if one wheat berry grew in a very wet climate, it's going to need less moisture in your bread product to get the product. So every time you open a bag of wheat berries that's from a different crop or different season, you're going to need to reorient yourself to how much liquid is going to need to go into that recipe. Sounds confusing, but it's really not. Let's not get stuck in the weeds. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the harvesting part. We can avoid that by buying organic. What I'm talking about is the actual processing that they use in making that flour shelf stable and consistent. That is what we are reacting to. And we can again get away from that by grinding our own wheat berries. So it's not the gluten. It's not, I'm even telling you it's not the gluten in my videos. It's not the gluten. It's the chemical processing that they're putting our wheat berries through after they remove all the vitamins and nutrients, and then they put a few synthetic ones. They remove 40 vitamin and nutrients, and they throw in 4 synthetic ones. And it's actually the folic acid, the synthetic version of the folic acid, that a lot of people are finding that they are allergic to. So yeah, it's just a few little changes that makes us healthy. But I want to really, my heart is, let's not get stuck in the weeds. I try to make things simple, because the harder something is, the more unattainable it feels to people. So when we are looking at a comment, and I'm going to tell you right now, I never make comments like this. I never point these things out, because I don't want somebody reading my comment and thinking, why even bother? Like if I can't just go grab a wheat berry, now I'm going to have to worry about the field that it's in. Why even bother? Do the best you can with what you have. If you can't afford organic food, buy non-organic food. If you can't afford making something from scratch, then a box mix is all you can afford, then do that. But do whatever you can. I once had, my saying in life was, when you know better, you do better. And do the best you can with what you have. No shame. No shame. I am proud of you just for researching or figuring out how to make one small change every single day. Just one. And make that change over and over and incorporate it into your life until it is such a habit that you now find a new change that you need to make. One small changes every single day. That is how we're going to change our health. You guys have a great day out there.
Typically, no, you don't need to be cleaning the wheat. The wheat is human grade consumption that is sold to the public, except now I have heard that some animal feed, is being redirected for human consumption. But wheat, no, you shouldn't have to clean it. Unless you look in the bag, I just inspect it roughly to look through to see if I see anything that doesn't look like a wheat berry. And typically, no, you should be golden. Good job. If you have any questions, let me know. I really want you to have a great experience doing this. It has totally changed my world, and for the better. So congratulations on your new journey, and let me know if you have any questions on it.
All-purpose flour is a mixture of the hard flours and the soft flour. It is, however, chemically processed to make it shelf stable and to make it consistent. So you're not going to be able to get a real true all-purpose flour because they also sift some of the bran and the germ off of it, which makes it lighter. So they're chemically processing it to make it shelf stable and to make it consistent, and they're taking some of the bran and the germ, which has all of the nutrients, the 40 vitamins and minerals that we need to heal our gut and to keep us healthy. So the best way that you can get, or the best tool that I use for getting all-purpose flour, is if I'm doing anything with yeast, I use hard red or hard white. If I want all-purpose white flour, I'll use all hard white wheat. Now, if I'm doing anything like cookies or cakes or anything like that, I will use soft white wheat. The soft white wheat, if I'm doing something that I want it to be fluffy, I'll sift some of the bran and the germ out to make it rise a little bit better, or to make it a little bit lighter of a product. I hope that helps. Ask me anything. Talk to you guys later. It's been 4 days. It's been a whirlwind here on the farm's homestead. But I figured I would reply anyways because I have the Wonder Mill and I'm going to tell you what I like about it. I also have a Country Living grain mill that has not totally been set up, and I'll tell you why we have that one as a backup. But here, the Wonder Mill. The thing that I keep it on pastry setting all the time. I don't even use any of the other settings, mainly because I never remembered to put it from bread to pastry when I was trying to make cookies or anything, so I just keep it on pastry. And it works perfectly fine. I literally have bread dough. You want to peek? You want to peek? Bread dough right there. Ooh, it looks amazing. I'm making dinner rolls. So I literally have bread dough that was just ground with this, and I've actually used this thing 4 times today. I like it, and here is why. I never attach the lid to it, but I do use the lid, and here's why I use the lid. I like it because it has a collection container. So when it is grinding flour, it does not get all over my kitchen. There is no dust in my kitchen at all because it all is collected in here. It has this little tiny puffy thing that I need to clean, obviously, and it has a contraption thing in here, and that collects all of the dust that's going to fly out into your kitchen. It collects it all, and it has a little collection container. Then it has this port right here that plugs in. It's the male part, right? Let's just go with it. And then it plugs into the female part on the side. And you plug that in, you turn it on, you let it go up to speed, and then you throw your grains in, and you walk around your kitchen getting all of your other ingredients. When the grains start to get a little bit low and they're almost disappeared, I put this over the top of it because some of the grains like to fly out. It's usually 2 like to just pop up. You know, it's whirling around in there. And I just put the lid on, and then I put it down. Now, I like this. Because it's literally, well, it was free. It was given to me. But the reason I love it, and I would always want to have another one, is it contains everything inside of this little container right here, and it fluffs it up beautifully. It is fast. I mean, we're talking every time I turn it on, it's less than a minute and a half to do 3-4 cups of flour. So it's fast. I love that. It doesn't take up very much space on my counter, and it's amazing. Now, why do I have a Country Living grain mill? Country Living grain mill was an investment, and it was something that we had talked about for a very long time. I haven't even told you guys I have a Country Living grain mill. I got it for my birthday. I literally have a ton of birthday presents from the several years before that we need to start playing with, like a pasta maker, and a sound machine, where you can record your own sounds and make your own sounds. Yeah, I geek out in technology and stuff. But this one does 3 settings. It does coarse, it does bread, and it does pastry. And to be totally honest with you, there is a slight variance between them all. However, the Country Living grain mill will allow me to crack for cracked wheat and for cream of wheat and stuff like that. It will allow me to crack the wheat, and it will allow me to grind it all the way to super, super fine. Like, they sent a little container. Oh, let's see if we can find it. This is everything I have to play with. But this is the Country Living grain mill. And this is the little tiny, it's in here. See, it's in there. I still want to play with it. This is the coarseness of the flour. Let's see if I can turn it. Right there. That is how fine. That is the finest setting of flour. You cannot even feel it. It is like fairy dust. You just can't. But that's it. The reason we bought this one is because it is literally hand operated. no power needed. So if the electricity goes out, we always have a backup, and we can always make tortillas and breads and stuff like that. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I will be working on getting it set up. If the Wonder Mill dies, I could get a motor for this one. The motors are $400. How do I know? Because we just looked at it, because we were just thinking about, oh, let's get a motor for it. Yeah, no, I don't want to get a motor for it, because that's that $400 for a motor. This thing costs $350, or the Wonder Mill costs $350. So for that, I would just get another Wonder Mill, because it's like, and it does beans. The Wonder Mill does almost anything except for oily seeds and things like that. If it's an oily substance, it gets gummed up. And there is no way, like if you have kids in your house, get the Wonder Mill, because there's no way of getting inside that contraption. It's like none. It's like kids cannot put their fingers in it. They can't get hurt. They can operate it. That's my 2 cents. That's what I like about the Wonder Mill. I have heard complaints about the mock mill and people saying that it gets their house dusty. Mine doesn't, because it's all contained inside the container. I hope that helps, and Merry Christmas. What did you get? Oh, girlfriend, my phone only lets me do 3 minutes. I don't even have enough time for this. I don't even have enough time. So let me just tell you, I watched a 3-hour video called The Bread of Life by Sue Becker, Bread Beckers, and she was talking about wheat, and she was talking about our gut, and she geeked out on our digestive system and how God made us. And I mean, but just forewarned, she's Christian, so am I. So, and she was talking about how inside these wheat berries is the complete vitamin B's and the vitamin E, and what vitamin E does on how it repairs us, and what this stuff does to our body, and why it's not the flour it's not the bread that affects us. It's the processed flour and the way that they chemically process it to make it consistent and shelf stable. And it's the chemicals that were in there that I was reacting to. So no matter how many prebiotics I was taking to feed the probiotics to help my gut health get better, because I was becoming gluten intolerant, when I started, we've been on it for now a year and 2 months, and I have no more bloating. I have no more issues. I've actually lost weight. My brain clarity, my brain fog is gone. I have a lot more clarity. I feel better. I'm exercising more. I don't have I feel sick. I can actually eat grocery store bread, although now it tastes absolutely disgusting. Don't tell my family, but my sister-in-law came and she made garlic bread for one of her meals, because we switch off making meals. And I went home and I said, honey, that bread, it was white bread from the grocery store. I said, it was just disgusting. It was super sweet and it had absolutely no flavor, and it just mushed. It was just, it had no chew to it. So I now volunteer to make all of the bread products in our family when we're having dinners. The vitamin B in the wheat kernels, you have to grind it and use it within a couple hours of it, but it is the food that your probiotics need to stay alive inside your body. So they go into your gut and they kind of just sit in your digestive tract, the exit tract. And that is what your probiotics are looking for, so that they can have food, so that they can start doing their job. After about 2 months on it, we both declared we were never going to go back to eating fake food again. And we have this given to us by a friend that was no longer using it. It's a food mill. It's the Wonder Mill. And it's amazing and makes it so much easier. And really, all in all, I make my own bread products, and it only takes an extra 30 seconds to 2 minutes. So once you try it, you'll never go back. No, the gluten is still going to be there. Some people think they're gluten intolerant and they have to go gluten-free, when actuality what they need is to go back to the natural process of the wheat berries and grind it themselves. But when they start grinding the wheat themselves, they start realizing that it's not the gluten that they're allergic to, unless they are celiac. Only 2% of the world is celiac, and it's something that you need to get tested for. What people are really allergic to or having an issue with is the chemical processing that they put the wheat
wheat berries through. So they take the wheat berries, they grind it up, they sift it, they remove all the chaff and the germ and everything that has the vitamins and the nutrients in it. They leave the white stuff and they put that through a chemical process to make it shelf stable, and then a chemical process to make it consistent. So every time you pick up that bag of all-purpose flour from that one company that you love, we all know we have a one company that we loved, you're going to get the same biscuits every time you make it with that flour. The problem is they put the synthetic vitamins and folic acid back in. They remove 40, they only put 4 back in. And our bodies can't really process those vitamins, and our bodies need the fiber and all of the vitamins that were in there in order to process and have good gut health. So most people think that they are gluten intolerant. In my case, I thought that's what it was, but in actuality, what I have come to discover is I'm not gluten intolerant. I was intolerant to the chemical processing of the flour, and that's the chemical processing that we do in the United States. They don't do that kind of stuff in Europe, which is why people can buy the European flours and they don't react to it. However, after you grind the flour, within a day, within a couple hours, you start losing a significant percentage. And within 3 days, that flour, the nutrients that's in the ground flour, will be 90% gone, which is why people are choosing to grind it themselves and make the products directly from grinding it, because they're getting all of the nutrients as soon as they're using it and baking it that God intended for it to have, or nature intended for it to have, whatever belief you guys have. I hope that helps. It's very fascinating. I could talk about it all day long. Ask me any questions you might have. Literally, I love the whole topic. And again, I have never felt better.
What can you use other than a wheat grinder to grind your own wheat berries? Let's talk about that for just a moment, because there are some people that use a blender. Although that doesn't give you the consistent, like you're always going to have to sift it and then reblend the smaller particles and sift. So that's going to take a little bit more time. What can you use other than a grain mill when you're grinding wheat? Let's talk about that. Let's brainstorm some ideas, right? So there are people that use their blender. There's been a couple people that comment on here. I know one friend of mine uses the Vitamix, but he does say that he has to sift it and then he has to take those larger particles and put them back in and then sift it again, because it doesn't really give a consistent, uniform grind through all of the wheat berries. Because a mill is so expensive, the one that I have is $350 on Amazon. I actually started with one of these to see if I would like it. Now, I'm just going to tell you, you will get an arm workout. It will take you a couple hours to do enough wheat for a loaf of bread. And it does give you the idea if you like the flavor of it. For me, when somebody says they want to grind their own wheat, I have them come over to the house and I will make them a loaf of bread, or we will make something so they can take it home and have to see if their family likes it. Usually they come back saying, I'm ordering a wheat grinder, I'm just saying. I even had an 8-year-old little boy that has tummy issues, and I made him a loaf of bread. He also has really bad allergies. I made him a loaf of bread, and he not only loved it, his mom, that is intolerant to gluten, said she had absolutely no reaction to it, and they are on a wheat berry journey now themselves. The other thing that you can do is if you have a KitchenAid, you can get the KitchenAid attachment. Now that one, some people say they love it. I have heard a lot of complaints from people that want to do a lot of bread at a time, or they want to like bake for a long time. They say it's really slow. You have to go slow. You have to let your machine cool because it can overheat your machine. And I have had people tell me that their machines actually shut off so that it could cool before they could restart it again. So there's that. For me, because it's a lifestyle change and it's just one that I adopted, I went with the grain mill. Now, my grain mill was given to me, but we are saving up for the country living grain mill because we do have chickens and we want to crack some corn for them, and that will crack that. But we also have a brewer friend of ours that wanted some cracked grains. So he's like, well, can we let people bring their grains over and throw it through the machine. It's like, it was given to me. I'm not going to hoard it for myself. So I have my friends that are trying to get into it. I just tell them, just bring your berries over. We'll stick them through the machine. You can go home and cook and bake with them. But it also will go from crack all the way to fine ground. And we talked to the representative at the company for that. So that's about $700 to $800, right? That's a really big expense. So if you're just looking for, you know you're going to get into this, and you know you've tried this option, which is about $100. I think it's 120 now. Sadly, it was only 80 when I got it. I personally would go with something like this to see if I liked it, and if I did, bonus, I would get the Wonder Mill, because that is probably the cheapest way of getting in, and then you'll be addicted to it. Trust me, you'll be addicted to it. Great question. You guys have a great day out there.
Oh, that would totally depend on what I found. If I find sticks and twigs, which are common, I just pick those out. If I find mouse poop, we got a different story. That, yeah, I'd be calling the company. I have found little tiny seed pods, but that's just because they were the same size as the wheat berries and they didn't get filtered out through the cleaning system. If I'm not buying really good quality wheat, I'm going to expect that I'm going to have some dirt in it. But I always, because it's a food source, I always buy good quality wheat berries, and I have trusted sources that I go to. And other than that, there are some people that do find mouse droppings and the actual dangerous things that are in their wheat. And if that was to happen, I would definitely call the company and talk to the company, take lots of pictures, and analyze. If I find anything, I analyze and research what it is before I move any further. But this whole batch that I didn't find anything questionable at all. And in the 200 pounds of rice that I did, I only found one little tiny green stem of the plant. And I just took that out. Yeah, so it all depends on what you're finding.
You want to know about the wheat and the wheat grinding milling process? Let me show you here. I am getting ready to make challah bread. It's kind of like challah bread, but it's challah bread. And it is an eggy based bread. And I'm going to, instead of using all-purpose flour, I'm going to use 3 cups of white wheat, hard white wheat. I'm using hard white wheat because this is calling for some yeast. So anytime it calls for yeast, I use hard wheat. And this is what I've got. I've got little shy of 3 cups of white wheat, because when it grinds, it gets a little bit fluffier. So when it calls for 3 cups of wheat flour, you grind a little bit less, and then you'll get a perfect amount, or almost perfect amount. So let's get this in. First, for my machine, you turn it on first, and you get it going. And then you drop them in. Let it go. My machine is a self-cleaning machine, so you let it go after all the wheat berries have disappeared. You let it go for a little bit longer, and it self-cleans it. You wait for it to totally stop pushing out air, and then I detach this, roll it up, and open it up, and this is what it looks like. Now, you want to make sure you kind of fluff the flour. You're actually defluffing it. Let's bring it over, and we're going to scoop 3 cups into my pan. I'm making this in a Zojirushi bread machine because it's 5 minutes and I'm done. I walk away, then I come back, and there it is, all ready and prepared for me. So I have already put 1 cup of water. I put 1 egg in here and filled the rest of it up with water and put it in the bread machine. Then I took 1 egg and took the yolk and put the yolk in the bread machine. And then I cut up half a stick of butter, and this is what it looks like so far. That's what we've got. Now I'm going to put in 3 cups of flour, and then we're moving on. I'll be right back. This is how much flour I have left from grinding the wheat berries. So what I'm going to do is stick it in this Ziploc bag that I just keep reusing and put it in the freezer. Simple as that. And then when I need to dust something or flour something, or I'm making a soup and I just need a little bit of flour, it's right here. Or if I haven't used it, I will take it and add it to the next product that I'm making. So it's never more than a few weeks old. There you go, in the freezer. Put 2 tablespoons of sugar on one side, and then salt. 1.5 teaspoons of salt on the other side. Sugar and salt shouldn't touch until they start mixing after it's all warmed up. 2 teaspoons of yeast. I always make a divot right there, and that's where I put my 2 teaspoons of yeast, right in that divot, right there.
Then we stick it in the bread machine. Come with me. That's how easy it is. Like literally, it's only been 3.5 minutes. There you go. Hit start and walk away. We'll be back when it beeps to take it out, and I'll show you what it looks like. But let me tell you what we're making with this. We're not going to be eating this bread. You could eat this bread if you wanted to, but this bread is going to be turned into bread pudding, Instant Pot bread pudding. So stick with me tomorrow when we are going to make it into an 80-year-old woman's requested dessert for her birthday party. We'll talk to you guys in a bit. This is where we stop it and we check. Oh, so I have a little humidity in my house, and I should have added 2 tablespoons of flour, and I should have decreased my water by a tablespoon, increased my salt by 1/4 teaspoon, and decreased my yeast so it wouldn't have overproofed and fallen. But we can still use this because it's going to be made into bread pudding, and nobody will know that it fell. There you go. We'll see you on the next one.
Oh, it smells so good. Can we eat it?
Not till tomorrow. There you go.
You all ask me where I buy my wheat berries. We're gonna go in and order some. I get them at Winco. I get the hard red wheat and the hard white wheat at Winco. So let's go in and I'll show you where I go. When I first come in, I go straight to the bulk foods and check and make sure that they have them still in stock. That's my first goal. And there you go. Oh, it's gone up in price. So here's the red. Now I look around here to see if there's somebody, an employee that's packaging. If not, then I go to the produce department and I ask them. Oh, and I'm gonna get that guy. And just like that, he's gone in the back and he's gonna get the paperwork, and then we're gonna be set and golden and I'm gonna leave. Okay, and I was wrong. They do have the white. It's right there, and the red. So if he's not here, then you'll just call me if it's ready.
If it comes in,
Yeah. There you go. He just went into the back. That's it. I've been in here less than 5 minutes. He's going to order it. Then he will call me when it is ready for pickup, and I'll come over and we'll pick it up together. So yesterday they sent me a text in the afternoon and they said that they were in, and I am now ready and we're going to go pick them up. It is Thursday morning and I want to get them because it's a lot of bags. So let's go. Okay, we are back. We have a shopping cart and we are going to pick it up. We're going to the produce section where he is going to have it ready for us. And we just wait. We've already talked to him. Okay, it's all loaded. This is 200 pounds each of hard red and hard white. And time to take it home. Okay, I just got home. I've got to unload it all. It's all gonna come in here, and then in another video, I will pack it for you. Remember those 5-gallon Mylar bags that Pack Fresh USA sent me? Yeah, we're going to try those out for the first time while we pack this. I may need to order more, but we'll see. We'll get back with you later. That'll be another video, and it will be very shortly. First, now I need to eat. My husband had some leftover dip. I'm exhausted and starving. I'm actually 3 hours behind because I thought it would be much faster to just run in and grab it. And I was gonna run in. I left at 8 o'clock in the morning and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon because I couldn't find 5-gallon buckets again. 5-gallon buckets are on a short supply. So there you go, lesson learned. I always seem to want them when everybody else wants them. So that's my issue.